Commish, Nate.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Wrong intro, but it's okay. It's Press Pass Live. Welcome to Press Pass Live, your weekly OMFL podcast show. The OMFL, the world's oldest and longest online CFM, started in 2001, still going strong today as a PS5 league, plus a PC league. Started as a PC league. We still have some PC owners. Let me welcome in two of my buddies here, Mr. Maniac, owner of the Buffalo Bills and commissioner of the Deuce, our dynasty league here in the Grown Folks, and Mr. Trey. He is back. That's right. This is the old crew for Press Pass Live. Mr. Trey, the Washington Commander owner. He's back. What's up, Randy? Good to see you. Fellas, how we doing tonight?
Doing wonderful. Hola.
Doing pretty fantastic. Wrapped up some NBC stuff today, wrapped up some Deuce stuff earlier. Now let's do some Press Pass Live.
Nice. Well, let's jump right into it, Maniac. Let's do our 2-minute drill, week 14, 15, 16. Give me a couple of games that you want to talk about. I'm going to put them on the screen while we go through them, buddy.
All right. Well, there is a lot of games we could talk about. There is some good games. Looking at the Baltimore-Cleveland game, 24-13 victory for the Ravens, 21-14 victory for the Tampa Bay over Green Bay. A lot of close games. Detroit kind of hammered Carolina 38-13. The one I want to talk about, Cincinnati, Pittsburgh. That was a good game there, 27-22. Buffalo squeaks out a victory, 29-24. The Patriots, Minnesota dominates the Rams 42-24. I think that was probably a CPU though, since
I think you're right.
He's still out. Yeah. Washington 28-21 over Philadelphia. Man, Philadelphia's been playing some close games here lately. Jacksonville 31-24 over the Houston Texans. Denver 28-21 over the Jets. That was another one that I was going to look at too, but I didn't know if that was also maybe a CPU game, because I know some have been out of town during this time. So, but the other one that we could talk about too, Seattle and San Francisco, 27-21. Man,
regular
Seattle,
season champs at it again.
Yeah, they are at it again, man. What a good victory there for the Seahawks. The Chargers, 38-21 victory over KC. KC's had an up and down season. He's won a couple big games and lost some big games. But he's been hanging tough. Dallas and Tennessee, 25-24. Man, that's another great game. I watched, I think, a couple of plays in this one. I didn't really get to watch this because I was busy that day. But whenever I was watching it and stuff, there was a big play that happened. I can't remember what it was, but it kind of changed the tide of the game. So, again, it's just one of those games where these two guys are really good. Indianapolis, man, 31-17 over the Giants. And then your New Orleans Saints, man, 28-24 victory over the Falcons. Going back to the game I want to talk about, Pittsburgh at Cincinnati. Again, this is the in division game here on the AFC North division. So Burrow had a great day, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, completed 12 of 22. Lawrence kind of struggled, but he did have the 1 touchdown. Now, he was at 70%, but he was sacked 3 times. Really couldn't get the long ball going for the Steelers there. Rushing, Karen Williams was the leader here, 55 yards for the Steelers, 13 carries. Warren with 34, 9 carries himself. The big man for Cincinnati, Bruce Allen, only 5 carries, 18 yards. So his running game was kind of kept in check in this game. Looking at receiving, Barkley, 4 receptions, 120 yards, and a touchdown. Had an 82 long in this game. Evans, Duke Evans, I think he was an import, 6 catches, 96 yards for the Steelers. And Ivory getting some things done as well. 6'8" wide receiver, 4 catches, 64 yards, and a touchdown. Also had a long of 47, and you can see the other guys, Pittman getting a touchdown and 47 yards there for the Steelers.
Can we just talk about this guy's profile picture, Mr. Ivory? This is the biggest head I've ever seen on a player in my life. My goodness.
Takes up half the screen. And then on top of that, he has the afro
He's
there,
got the,
so it just
he's got the big hair. It just makes it even bigger.
Defensively, 16 tackles from C.J. Harris, the rookie. So that's a big tackle mark there for the rookie. Probably going to help him maybe possibly in some Rookie of the Year nominations. 3 tackles for a loss and a sack as well in this game. Sack leaders, Harris, as we mentioned, Murphy, and then Hendricks also for the Cincinnati Bengals. Turner, Highsmith, and Dexter had one for the Steelers. Interceptions, White with one. I think he's just like the ageless wonder. He seems like he just keeps coming back each season. But really good game here. Kind of going back. I'm kind of doing this backwards. So look at the box scores. Offensive yards gained 341 to the Steelers to 250. The rushing yards only 21 for the Bengals, 89 for the Steelers. The first downs 20 for the Steelers, 9 for the Bengals. You think, after looking at this, you think that it probably dominated by the Steelers, but it just was not the case, as the Bengals did have a 14-point fourth quarter to come back in this game. And then time of possession, all Steelers, 25 minutes to only a little under 11 minutes for the Bengals. So, man, crazy game there, but big comeback there for the Bengals to not come back. But anyway, he made a good, valiant effort to get back in the game.
I'm going to tell you firsthand, 25 to 10 minutes, that sucks. I'm going to tell you, I just came out of one that was just like that, and it absolutely makes you want to punch a kitten. Like, it's just total dominance.
Did you guys see any games from this week? We just named off a bunch of them, but
no, I think you did a good job for me.
Yeah, you pretty much summed it up all.
Yeah, you pretty much could have did a blindfold and picked a game, and it would have been good to talk about. So
one thing I'll add, I don't know why I got the yawns. My apologies. Golly, get it together. A lot of DCs ever since the issue with PlayStation Network a couple of weeks back. The DCs have been on the rise, so hopefully EA can get that figured out. I know I posted in chat that I've been having some DNS errors that have been taking place because of some issues that happened with that one as well. But you can see just in the last 3 weeks, we've had a good 8 games with DCs, and that sucks.
Yeah, it really does. Like we've talked about before, anytime you have to restart, it just seems like the game goes a totally different direction than when you just started. So, but looking at week 15, Detroit 42-3 over the Jets. This is
some controversy
game
on this one, yeah.
So, Detroit, man, laid the wood to the Jets.
Let me just make a commissioner statement just to get it over with. Listen, yes, 100%, you should check. But guys are busy. They don't have time to hold hands. If you post that you're out of town, that means I can't play. I'm out of town. I would assume that people may just be busy and they're going to go do their business. So, yes, maybe check if you got, just to be polite and kind. Let's also not get up in arms. This one kind of got blown way out of proportion. You posted in out of town. That meant you can't play. If you could have played, you should have said that. Anyway, let's just avoid all of that in the future.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but yeah.
Maniac, I've learned a couple of things in my older age. I can lump us in this in our advanced age that, like, there's some things I don't use my brain power for. Like, I got little brain power left, and figuring out people's out of town schedules and when to ask for CPU and when, like, I'm not using my brain power. I need y'all to figure this out. Y'all are adults. Be adults, please.
Yeah, absolutely. That's good, solid advice for everybody. Chicago and Houston, man, there was no defense in this game. 43-32, Chicago gets a victory. He's making a little push here at the end. Actually, the whole NFC North is kind of making a push, except for the Packers. So it seems like so. New England with a 34-20 victory over the Rams. Again, this was a decent game here. It looked like it's played twice. Miami gets a victory over Buffalo, 31-23. His pass rush was on steroids this game for sure. Tennessee 34-27 victory over Washington. Man, that was a good game as well. This is a game we're going to talk about. Dallas at Cleveland 20-17. So we're coming back to that one. New Orleans also with a great game here against Minnesota, 34-31 victory over the Minnesota Vikings. Kind of put a stifle in the Vikings run as they were trying to get in the lead in that division. Baltimore with a 48-41 victory over Cincinnati. Probably could talk about that one too. No defense whatsoever. San Francisco 48-31 over the Las Vegas Raiders. He was up in arms, I guess, after losing that game to the Seahawks the previous week. Arizona 21-10 over the Kansas City Chiefs. Pittsburgh again gets another victory, 31-27 over Carolina Panthers. The Colts with a 38-14 victory over Denver. The LA Chargers, I keep wanting to call them San Diego Chargers. It's just old habits, man. 45-10 victory over Tampa Bay. Seattle gets a 31-21 victory over the Giants. Jacksonville dismantles Green Bay 31-3. And then Philadelphia gets a big-time victory here, 21-17 over the Atlanta Falcons. Going back to this Dallas Cowboy-Cleveland game, again, I'm going to start again the same way I did the other one, just changing it up a little bit. Prescott had a decent game here, 16-23, 2 touchdowns and an interception, 69%. Noack, he also had 2 touchdowns, but he did have 2 interceptions and was sacked twice in this game. Wasn't quite as efficient in passing the ball as Dak was with 1932, 59%. Rushing, this one's kind of shocking because I know Dwayne is big in rushing, and to see him not really having a big rushing game is kind of eye-opening. But the Browns, his rookie Brett Brown, 56 yards on 10 carries. McMullen, 56 on 12 carries, and Deuce Vaughn also had 23 on 6 carries there. Waters also putting in 18 on 5 carries, but not a lot big rushing thing happened going on in this game. And there were some fireworks going on the passing attack. Tank Dell, the little 5'10", 6'5", 165 pounds from Houston, man. 6 receptions, 110 yards, and 2 touchdowns. He seems to get open. Every time I've played the Browns, he's always open and getting the ball. Njoku, 6 receptions for 106 yards as well. Ferguson leading the pack here for the Cowboys for 4 for 79. And Fletcher adding 61 on 4 receptions. And then Alec Pierce also get the touchdown for the Cowboys with 2 catches for 53 yards. And kind of wondering if Lamb got hurt this game or whatever, because he was shut down in this game. Very surprising in that stat there. Moving on to the defense. Defensive tackle leader Overshown with 10 tackle for a loss and a half sack. Cleveland, Marcus Andrews was their leading tackler with 8. The sack leader in this game, Parsons, with a 1.5 sacks here. Garrett also getting a sack, and then Overshown also getting that half a sack. Interceptions, Marquise Bell with 1. Newsome with 1, and then Bland also had 1 for the Cowboys. Man, looking at the overall box scores from this game, just looking at the total yards, they're pretty much even. Rushing yards even. Passing yards a little bit of a nod to the Cleveland Browns there with 284 over 240. First downs, both guys were almost dead heat there with 15-17 for the Browns. Turnovers. The Browns had 3. The Cowboys had 1. Big games like that usually speaks dividends, but time of possession was nearly right down the middle of this game. So, but great game by both these guys, and man, what a game to probably watch.
Yeah, I got to peek in on a few games. I didn't get to watch this one, but I did get to peek into the Giants-Seahawks game. It was a really good one. I want to say they were into the third quarter. DC happened, they had to come back later. And you said it already. When those DC happens, I don't know why, it just feels like it's completely the opposite. It goes completely the opposite way more times than not. And it just sucked to see what was turned out to be a really good game sort of not get ruined, but I don't know, just kind of deflated because you had to restart that game. Trey, anything caught your eye?
Not this week. There's one next week, though, that I have my eyes on.
Take it away. 2-minute drill, week number 16.
All right.
Very good. I'm 16.
I'm trying to do better here, so we're getting it done. So Jacksonville gets a big win. Looks like it was a sim, but 24-17 victory over Tennessee. Man, 63-48 Cleveland over the Cincinnati. Buddy Bowl 20, I guess. It might probably be Buddy Bowl 20, but man, these guys.
Never in my life would I ever have guessed in all Madden we would have seen these scores. Like these guys had to have been telling each other what play they were running.
Yeah, so like, hey, let me throw the deep ball here. You know,
gotta get that XP, brother. Come on.
But yeah, I'm not even sure this may be the highest scoring game so far this cycle.
And on all Madden, I just never would have assumed that somebody would have hung 63-48.
The Ravens 34-7 victory over the Saints. I know his defense was just absolutely stifling. I kind of tuned in a little bit on that game, and my heart went out to you. I was like, man, there's just absolutely nothing you could do, and it was just one of those helpless games.
Yep.
The Houston Texans 27-12 victory over the Philadelphia Eagles. Atlanta gets a slim victory here over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 17-14. Dallas gets the sim win. Looks like 34-14 over the Commanders. Indianapolis with a 34-31 victory over the Vikings. I was going to say the Colts, but man, the Vikings have scored 31 points, I think, 2 of the last 3 weeks and lost both those games. That's just heartbreaking for them. Buffalo squeaks out a victory over the Green Bay Packers, 24-17.
You know the rules, and so do I. Say goodbye.
I'm just saying.
the Raiders got a 38-35 victory over the Seattle Seahawks. Well, the Raiders they're up and down. They can win the big games sometimes, and they lose the ones that they're supposed to win. So it just, I've been there, so I feel that one. But a great game by both those guys. The Chargers 23-19 over Denver. I want to look at this one. This is the one I wanted to kind of pinpoint. Hopefully it's not a CPU game, but San Francisco dismantles the Arizona Cardinals 42-16. The Jets lose the sim here to the Pittsburgh Steelers 27-21. Chicago, could talk about this one too, gets a 23-20 victory over the Detroit Lions. I think Tim has said they try to make a valiant comeback late in that game, but just came up a little bit short. The Giants 24-10 victory over the Rams. Again, looked like it had desync there in that one. 34-31 victory for the Patriots over the Dolphins. Man, a good game there as well. They're in our division. Carolina gets a 28-13 victory over the Chiefs. Did you guys, as I'm scrolling back up to look at that game I was going to talk about, did you guys see anything that you wanted to talk about or see in this week?
Denver, Koch, 4K passing touch. What the heck?
Oh my goodness! I didn't even look at the stats on that game because I just seen it. I was like, "What on earth? What where was the defense in this game?" But
Dwight Nowick, 443 yards, 8 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Josh Duncan, 445 yards, 6 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Each of them took 2 sacks. Each of them had a touchdown or a pass for over 70 yards. What the heck?
Yeah, Joe Burrow didn't even. It looks like he played one down in this game, and I assume got hurt. And so the rookie comes in and promptly tosses 6 touchdowns for the Bengals.
Yeah, what a way to feel confident if you lose your quarterback. Have the rookie come in and throw that many TDs, man.
And then a rookie receiver, 10 catches, 227 yards, 5 touchdowns. What?
Open wide. No.
Kudos to those dudes.
I would call stat pad gate.
Well, you're a brave man to tell those two they stat padded. Nathan did not say that. I just want to be very clear. Send your hate.
I didn't say it either. I'm just laughing.
To Trey, okay?
Well, that didn't happen in this game that I wanted to talk about. So the Chargers and the Broncos, there were 6 interceptions thrown in this game and only 2 touchdown passes, and that was all by Mr. Justin Herbert. He was 11 of 18 for 61%, 2 touchdowns, but he also threw 4 interceptions in this game, so he was struggling a little bit with his accuracy, but he did get the 2 TDs. Bo Nix was having a rough game here, 0 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 17-26. He did have the better completion percentage of the game.
Look at that smile, though. Look at that. Somewhere, Bronco Man in the chat right now is just like, ooh, all the warms and fuzzies.
We're going to have to get Bronco Man to take a side pick along with his buddy Bo Nix here, so we can compare them. Rushing stats, Damon Pierce had a solid game here, 15 carries, 80 yards, and a touchdown. Tracy Jr., 8 carries, 48 yards, and didn't have any touchdowns, but, man, 6 yards a carry. Looked like this guy may have needed to get the ball a little bit more. Dobbins also had 9 carries for 33. I was trying to make sure that we're talking about carries and stuff if you got the amount of carries in the game. It looked like he did. So Curtis, the old man Samuel, still going at it, and 4 receptions, 90 yards. Glad to see he's still kicking. Fairmouth was 6 receptions, 82 yards for the Broncos there. Franklin, 5 for 75 for the Broncos. McConkey, 2 catches, 59 yards, a TD. And then Metcalf, the Broncos kept Metcalf under wraps. 3 receptions, 22 yards. There was no stat padding in this one, with a 1 touchdown with the 22 yards receiving. Defense tackle leader was 9 for Mr. Colson here for the Chargers. They did have a tackle for a loss. And then Denver, Beckwith also had 8 tackles in this game. Sack leaders, Henley with 1, and then Bosa with another one, all for the Chargers. And then interception, Henley also had 2 interceptions here, so a nice little outside linebacker playing good defense all around. Beckwith also had 2 interceptions for the Broncos. He is a middle linebacker. Green had 1, and then Parker also had another one for the Broncos there. Looking just to make sure they didn't have any TDs, and he did have a couple of TDs, and I guess that's what kept him in the game here. Parker and also Beckwith both had interception returns for touchdowns there, it looked like.
Can we talk about Henley really quick? 7 tackles, 3 tackles for loss, 1 sack, 2 interceptions, a forced fumble. Like, this guy was all over the place.
He was, man. And I kind of am curious to see if maybe he didn't make Defensive Player of the Week there for the AFC, because that was some he was, like you say, he was just all over the place. Kind of giving a box score look. Only 3 points scored in the fourth quarter, and altogether 15 points scored in the second half combined. So not a whole lot of scoring going on in the second half. Most of the scoring went on in the first half of this game, with the Chargers having that 14-point second quarter. Yards, definitely a nod to the Chargers. Offensive rushing, big nod there for the Chargers. Passing, pretty close there. First downs almost dead heat even there. Turnovers, though, was dead heat. Also, man, 4 turnovers. It looked like maybe had some fumble issues possibly on the other side as well. Third down conversions, got to give the nod to the Chargers. There was 7. And scrolling all down to the time of possession, not that bad. Actually, the Denver Broncos actually had the time of possession nod there at 19-16, or a little under 17. But 23-19 victory for the Chargers, keeping their playoff hopes in check there, and for the division there as well for them.
Trey, what are we betting on week 17 and 18?
Ooh, this is where it gets fun for me. We have a very tough matchup between the Jets and the Vikings, both kind of known for the offense, if I remember correctly. Still a little rusty on things. I would bet that it's actually going to be the under, though, because I feel like they both know each other fairly well, and they know each other's teams. I feel like, if it's the bar set about 42 points, I'd bet the under. If it's any higher than that, obviously still going under. If it's any lower, I'd probably bet higher.
Yeah, I think I'm taking higher too, just because the Vikings the last 2 weeks before this gave up over 30 points or scored over 30 points, but gave up over 30 points both games, lost both of those. So it's a good chance the Jets might hang 40 on him.
It's possible, but they could just be a complete shutdown. Who knows? Seahawks and Chargers, that's going to be a very pivotal matchup. Seahawks are fighting to A, stay in the wild card race, or B, try and get back to the division lead that they've lost. And the Chargers are trying and praying that, a slip up from the Nips and he's back in the first place race. I expect this would be a high scoring matchup as well. I know how Meek can be. He can be high powered, high offense. I don't know much of Logan's game, but judging by the scores I've seen, he can put up a decent amount, so I'd probably take higher on that amount. And another interesting matchup for me would be the Steelers and Falcons. The Falcons are, I believe, if I read it correctly, are fighting to keep the division lead. The Steelers are trying to just keep their positioning inside the AFC wildcard race. I expect this to be a low-scoring matchup and two very gritty players. It'd be a very interesting matchup to see. And week 18, if you care to dabble, we have the Packers and the Lions. I will always bet the Lions to be over the Packers, especially when Priest is the Packers. That's just me. Hey, I'm back. What do you expect? Rivalry's still better, even though Cardinals and 49ers has a potential for the division to be up for grabs. As we saw, I'd probably take the 49ers over if that's actually a user game, because, that was a blowout, and especially with the division potentially being on the line, I don't expect D-Money to let off the gas. Another key matchup for me is just one that's near and dear to my heart, because it's a rivalry that was built on OMFL Bulls, and that's the Colts and Commanders. We've always had high-scoring matchups, so I'm probably going to assume that it's going to stay low, because I'm starting with a team that scores little to nothing. So bet high.
I like the Bills and Chargers in this week too. It's week 18. This game can mean a lot for both of these teams. As you said, the Chargers are still trying to get up there for that number 1 seed. Needs a couple of slips up. The Bills, who've sort of owned the number 1 seed for most of this cycle, not having the season that Maniac wishes he was having, but by here, it's time to make a push. It's time to get serious, and we've seen these Cardiac Bills win those really tight, close games. This one might just be a really fun one to see how it goes down. I'm also interested to see, Maniac, how you and your Bills do on the road. You've had everybody coming to you a majority of these playoffs until the championship last season. Now you're probably going to have to be on the road for a playoff run. It'll be fun just to see how your team responds. Some really good games in week 18. Anything else you're watching for, Maniac?
Definitely, I think there was a couple that I saw there. I think the Steelers and the Bengals, I think, will be a good one to watch. I don't know about the over or under on that one, but I was thinking about the Browns and Ravens. They usually battle out very defensively games and stuff, so I definitely would take the under on that one, because it's I think they played 2 weeks prior to this, and they didn't reach 40 points total together. So that's usually kind of a sign these guys play pretty similar against each other every time. So be interesting to watch that one too there in week 17.
All right, let's go talk one more thing about playoff races. But before we do, Mr. Denbrew's with us. So take away the OMFL news. Mr. Denbrew.
Welcome back to the OMFL News. We are in week 16 of season 113 in the OMFL. I am Denbrew, and this is your news. All right, here we go. Let's talk about the playoffs. Quick shout out to Bill and his hard work. Lets us know how the playoffs are going every year and who's in, who's out, who's still hanging on by a thread. And by looking at what he's got, looks like we've already got some divisions locked up. We got some playoff spots locked up. And those teams would be your Ravens, your San Diego, LA Chargers, Dallas Cowboys, and Tennessee Titans. Kind of a nice little quartet of teams there. So congratulations to those teams for making the playoffs. And I think this playoff, in my opinion, and I can't stress it enough, is super wide open. I don't know that it's been this wide open the entire cycle. To me, it's just there's a bunch of teams I think that could win it this year. Would it surprise me if we had, one of those dominating teams like the Cowboys or the Niners win it again? No, but I think there's a bunch of teams that could win it. And maybe that's a product of all Madden. Maybe that's a product of the parity. Or maybe it's a combination of both. I don't know, but I think this one's wide open. And I just kind of took a quick look at the 14 teams that are in right now and Bill's playoff snapshot. I literally think 8 of them have a real shot at winning the whole thing. 8 of the 14. And maybe I'm missing a couple, so it wouldn't surprise me if there's 9 or 10 in there, but I think 8, based on owner, based on team talent, have a legit shot of making it. And the other thing that sticks out to me is even those teams that have been dominant, Ravens, Cowboys, like I mentioned, I think Chargers have been dominant this season. They've all had their close battles, and they've all had their one possession wins. So I think this playoff is wide open. And it could shape up to be one of the more exciting ones that we've had in a long, long time. So taking a quick peep at some of the matchups in the playoffs, if we started today, Titans and Steelers, I think both of those teams could win it all. You got matchup of the defending champ versus a former champ. Seahawks and Bears. The Seahawks are always in the playoffs. The Bears got a young, super talented team. I think wouldn't surprise me either one of those teams winning that game. I think that could be a really good one. The self-proclaimed Kings of the North, Detroit Lions versus Arizona. That looks like a hell of a matchup too. 49ers having to go on the road all the way across the country to take on Atlanta. Jets versus Colts, probably another intriguing matchup. Another matchup of 2 former OMFL champs. I think both of those teams have a shot at winning it all. But yeah, I think this one's super close. Be curious to think what the fellas on Press Pass Live think about if they feel the same way as this one. Wide open, you guys in the chat. But anyway, next week I'm going to give you my predictions on the playoffs. And that's all I got. Back to Nate and Press Pass Live.
Thank you, Mr. Denbrew. Appreciate and love you as always. And just what Denbrew did is exactly what we're going to do. We're going to go ahead and break down these playoff matchups. We're going to tell you who's in and who's not. There's not many races left to call. The AFC is all about sewed up. I mean, there's one team technically still in the hunt. The NFC, a few more teams, but we'll see if they're really in the hunt. On the screen right now is the way it would end if the playoffs ended right now in week 17. We just advanced minutes before Press Pass Live. So as it were to be right now, you would see the Ravens would be number 1 seed. The number 2 seed Chargers would take on the number 7 seed Bills. The number 3 seed Titans would take on the number 6 seed Colts. The number 4 seed Jets would take on the number 5 seed Steelers. Over the NFC side, you'd have the number 1 seed Dallas Cowboys, the number 2 seed San Francisco 49ers versus the number 7 seed Arizona Cardinals, the number 3 seed Chicago Bears versus the number 6 seed Detroit Lions, the number 4 seed Atlanta Falcons versus the number 5 seed Seattle Seahawks. I'm going to go over here real quick and tell you what Bill has updated. We'll start with the AFC, and guys, I'll just open it up. You can tell me if you think anybody else makes it. There's only one team still in the lead right now. So you got Ravens, Chargers, Titans. Those are all sewed up. Jets still in the hunt. They technically have the number 4 seed at 9-6. The Colts have it sewed up. The Steelers have it sewed up. The Bills have the last wild card at 9-6. The only teams still in the hunt are the Chiefs at 7-8. Do the Chiefs overtake any of these teams as we roll into week 17 and 18 and round out the AFC playoff picture?
I don't know what the Chiefs, who they have left, but I don't know if he played the Jets this season either, but I know he played me and he won that game. So if I end up going on a 2-game losing streak here, then he would hold the tiebreaker over me if he gets the final 2 wins. So that's probably his easiest path, I think, to getting into the playoffs. But he does hold the tiebreaker over me, so that is the reason why right now he is still alive and well in the AFC.
I'm going to say no because of Week 18. Week 18 is that inevitable matchup with the Jets.
It's going to be a fun one. And we also have the Bills Chargers that week. And again, I don't know that the Ravens have it. No, they don't have it totally sewed up. So Chargers could still be playing for the number 1 seed then.
Yep, if the Ravens lose out, the Chargers win out, the Chargers would take the number 1 seed.
It's going to be a fun matchup. I'm with Trey. I think no. I think the Chiefs are going to come up barely short, and last week's loss, I think, is going to end up being a really big one for him. The Cardiac Bills are going to do what the Cardiac Bills do. They're just going to continue to win games, and they're going to be tight and close. He's got a couple tough ones. Who do you have this week here, Maniac?
Denver.
You got Denver. It's going to be a tough one, but a winnable game. And I think it's going to come down to that week 18. And what more can you ask for in a Madden league, in the NFL? It's what everybody wants. Those week 18 games are going to matter. We're going to have 2 teams fighting for it, depending on the Jets, in town, out of town, have their PlayStation held hostage. Who knows what's going to happen with them? He's going to be fighting for a playoff seed. So this is just going to be a really fun race as we come down to the end here. This thing could really flip-flop. Bills, no. Who's in the Jets division?
It's Bills and Jets.
Yeah, okay, all right. So I didn't lose my mind. So Bills could get all the way up to 4 seed. Jets could fall out of the playoffs. Chiefs could take the number 3 seed. Like, it'd be some weird stuff to make that happen, but it could happen. I still think the way we see it is the way it's going to play out. Shocks are going to come up just barely short.
Yeah, I think that's probably the way it's going to happen. But still, just to have the fact that he's alive, and something to play for, I think it speaks highly for Shocks fan. He's done a good job getting back in after struggling the last couple of seasons and giving himself a good chance to get into the playoffs. It's awesome.
Absolutely agree with you. Well, that one was easy. Let's go ahead over to the NFC side. The Cowboys are at 14-1. The 49ers at 10-4-1. The Bears at the number 3 seed at 9-6. Falcons 8-7. Seahawks at 10-5. Cardinals at 9-6. Lions at 9-6. Still in it. Vikings 8-7. Giants 7-1. Panthers 7-8. Cowboys are sewed up. They have the number 1 seed sewed up. 49ers are sewed up. They've won that division, or maybe it's just they just clinched a playoff spot. So that division is still totally in the air, even though he made a statement game against the Cardinals this past week. Bears are fighting for it. Falcons, Seahawks, Cards, Lions, Vikings, Giants, Panthers. Oh my, they're all still in it. We started with Mr. Maniac in the AFC, so I'm coming to you, Trey, here for the NFC. Who's in, who's not?
I think we're looking at outlook. I don't see the Lions and Bears slipping up, giving the Vikings a route in. When it comes to the NFC South, though, I'm torn because I've played Bird, I played Flurry. That's a tough matchup, but I gotta just with the tough matchups ahead, I've gotta say it's probably gonna go to Flurry and the Falcons. So I think it's pretty much we're gonna see essentially what we see on paper right now. Maybe a few change-ups between the Lions and the Bears.
Yeah, it could come down to I think probably looking at this, I think the Vikings probably have the best chance to sneak in. And with that said, he's got the Jets and the Eagles the last two games. More than likely, the game against the Eagles could be kind of one that you could put in the win column, possibly. I know you can't count a game, but he should win that one. The Jets going to be a toss-up. But if he wins both of those, and then if you look at what we've talked about, the Cardinals, well, he's got the 49ers left to play also in week 17 or 18, I'm sorry. And he has the Giants. So those are really two tough matchups there at the end of the season for the Cardinals. He's coming off a big loss there in week 16 to the 49ers. So if he ends up possibly dropping these two, you could see, I think the Vikings could sneak up into one of those wild card spots there.
Cowboys 49ers, Bears with their win this past week. Falcons, Seahawks, in my opinion, all in. So your top five are done. That leaves Cardinals at 9-6, Lions at 9-6, Vikings at 8-7, Giants 7-1. I'm going to say Panthers are out. I feel like he's already kind of given up on it. I think he's given that over to the Falcons. The Giants tie is going to come back to haunt them. He's had a couple of tough games here late in the season. He was on vacation. That sort of also can kind of throw you out of your rhythm a little bit, even though you bring the PlayStation with you. It's just not the same being at home, being in your normal element. I think the tie is going to come back to haunt him. So that leaves for me Cardinals, Lions, Vikings, all sort of battling it out for those last three wild card spots. Put them in a bucket, shake them up, and pull some names. Cardinals loss to the 49ers seems to be like a punch in the gut for him. Might have an FPR file that we have to go back and watch on that one. I'm waiting to get his take on it. But there's just something that tells me that like that one, he's been competing well this season. He went into there with a lot of confidence and he was humbled. And trust me, take it for somebody who's been humbled 90% of this cycle, including last week, that just was just maddening. Like I get it. It's just humbling. Lions, I got to be honest. I don't know if Trey left his bravado behind when he left Detroit and Trey picked it up and just went, oh, this smells good. I'm going to go ahead and put this on. Like, I don't know what has happened to humble Trey, but this guy is got the confidence with no championships to back it up. But he pokes his chest out there and I love it. I am here for confident bravado Trey. Give it to me all day long. Not Trey, I'm sorry. Tim, give it to me all day long. It is leftover residue from Trey and those championships and that team that he left Tim to take over. Big Hurt's a tough one. He quietly was building something there, and I could feel his confidence. I could feel him like really knowing what he had built. And then he sort of had a tough game against me, followed it up with a tough game the next week where, again, he scores 31, loses 31-34, something like that. It feels like maybe he's like a boxer. He's just been caught with a right hook, and he ain't fall, but man, he's wobbly, and he's in the corner trying to hold himself up. Cardinals and Vikings feel the same. Lions feel like they've got confidence, even though he's like, the average chick at the dance. Like, you shouldn't be this confident, but your confidence makes you a lot prettier. So give me the Lions to get one of those. Cardinals, Vikings to fight it out. I'm going to go ahead and take Cardinals just because their strength has been a majority of this season. Here late, Vikings have taken a couple on the chin. It's going to be a really fun race here at the end the NFC these last 2 weeks. And it wouldn't surprise me if the Giants take one of these spots as well. Really will be a fun race. Any closing thoughts for NFC playoff race?
I would just say if we get what we see on the screen, it's going to be probably a very good playoff season. And even if we get some of these guys to kind of sneak in, it's just going to make it even more intriguing, I think.
Yeah, I'm upset I'm not in this race anymore, but I'm happy to see how it turns out.
Yep. I think it's going to be a ton of fun to go ahead and watch and see how these games play out. Let's go ahead and open up the OMFL mailbag. Mr. Logan getting us started with 2 questions back to back. Of the expected Toilet Bowl tournament teams, who's your favorite to win it all, assuming all the teams play? Now, the favorites for me are not expected Toilet Bowl teams because I think that they are still actually playing in the playoffs and have hunts. If Junior, listen to me, if Joker somehow does not make it into the playoffs, he is going to be a tough one. I think he won 2 in a row, barely lost. He was in the championship for the 3rd, so he would be a team that I would expect to be there. I would expect Trey to make a run, and he's back. He's a confident player. We know what Trey can do. He's going to have a playoff Commanders team if he chooses, or he's going to have his Lions team, which we know that roster is absolutely loaded. It's the one thing about the playoffs. I mean, the Toilet Bowl that adds an extra layers. You can use any team. Maniac, for some reason, he doesn't make the playoffs, even though I think he would be one of the favorites. But I think if I had to put my money on somebody, it would be Bill or it would be Trey. One of those 2 teams I think would be really, really dominant. How about you guys?
Go ahead, Trey.
I guess I had to officially throw my hat in that race. I'll be throwing my hat into the toilet. My run of championship luck started with a Toilet Bowl victory, so who knows? Maybe I can get started up again.
Yeah, that's. I remember that too. You won the Toilet Bowl and kind of got a little confidence, and then just went in the next season. I think that's when we got the dynamic game between you and Dwayne at the end of the season. So I would have to say also too, you have to look at teams like the Patriots and the Eagles. I think we've seen Twinkie do really good in the NBC. Been in a couple of bowl games, I think, over there as well. And then Lost Sniper, he can put up some points, and definitely when you have a solid roster that you can start with in like a Toilet Bowl setting and stuff, it definitely can make a difference. So I would look at those 2 guys also be kind of like a possible.
Logan, what area of your team, position-wise, have you been the most surprised, happy with this season? None is not a real position, but it would probably be the position that I would say, if you forced me with a gun, Logan, to give an answer, I'd say my linebacker group. They played much better than their rating, especially my middle linebacker. And for a team that's probably got the lowest rated defense in the game right now, they played much better than I expected them to. What about you guys?
Really, probably would have to say my wide receivers have played a little bit better than even with us being on like all Madden and stuff. My wide receivers have played better than they did in All Pro. I've actually got a guy that's got over 1,000 yards receiving before the end of the season, and I just think that that they probably all. If you look down the line on my roster, I don't really have like superstar type. I mean, I've got some good wide receivers, but I don't have like the superstar take over the game type guys. But they've all produced and been productive in my offense. So I would say probably the wide receivers for my team.
Can I say the free agents that I picked up? Is that an option here? I didn't have much of an expectation. If I had to say anything of position group based, it'd be the fact that between Jaden Daniels and Kenny Pickett, there's real no difference for me. So I've extremely considered, and this is, I guess, now becoming public knowledge, of moving Jaden Daniels.
I wish I
Nate?
needed a quarterback. That would be fun. Colin, are we planning on playing 5 seasons this cycle? Yes, it is the 6th season that is up in the air, and Madden 26 is up in the air. Little Koch, when deciding on imports, are there any certain positions that you're looking at carrying over? For me, it's always going to be the position of need that greatly affects your team the most. That I feel like that sounds like the most comment ever, but is there a player that your team that you're taking over into the new cycle that just has this really big hole that's really going to affect your team? Quarterback is always going to be the easiest one. Anybody that can start with a rookie contract quarterback, you're set for the cycle. And so I think quarterbacks are always going to be like, can I take a quarterback? Is that the easiest one? Do I have an NFL rookie quarterback that I feel like I can build, or do I just need one? I think outside of that, it is position of impact. So, cornerback, linebacker, rush defensive end. Those are probably, I think, the ones that people's head go to. And then I always, for me, end up picking the least sexy to draft: offensive lineman, defensive tackle. Like, what's a position like, man, I don't want to waste a draft pick in the new cycle on this, so let me bring it over as an import. What about you guys?
For me, like looking at an import, especially if I get multiple imports, and if I'm just deciding on one guy, I usually go with the impact guy that I have on the team. So somebody that can actually fit into whatever, if it's a cornerback, linebacker, defensive end, or whatever, that can make the most impact on my next team coming in. But just looking at the overall picture, if I've got a team that doesn't have a good quarterback or a really poor defensive backfield or whatever, then I'm going to go with the best guy that I have available at that position to hopefully try to build him up for the next Madden or whatever. But just looking at the overall picture, though, I look at trying to get that impact guy, just like Shepard. He was my first import to bring over for this Madden, and he has been absolutely dominant. I've seen guys in games where they get to where they just throw away from him because he just kind of locks down that side of the field sometimes. So.
Yeah, for me, it really comes down to watching what that team does come the actual NFL draft. If you say I have a guy, I've had it plenty of times with the Lions where I had like 6 or 7 different imports that I wanted to take, but the Lions would go out and draft some, so it negated the need to go and pick that player to bring along. I could fill in another void that the Lions didn't fill in.
Sorry, I was answering some chat. Mr. Koch with his second one. If you were putting together a team of users per position, who would you have playing each position? Example, Nate at free safety. Though, Little Koch, I am humbled by your post. I think you guys give me way too much credit because Maniac says it all the time, and so I think it's just in y'all's head. I am by far one of the worst users in this league, period. I would say for me, because I was thinking about this question, Joker at defensive line, Wayne at middle linebacker, man, a bunch of people at safety. Though Trey moves around on you a little bit, I'd probably put Trey at safety, but man, I'd take Maniac, I'd take Logan. There's a bunch of people I play at safety. Nipples at cornerback, Roger at quarterback. No, I've already said D. Wayne at middle linebacker, so I'd say...
He could be two-way.
I'd say Trey at running back. I don't know. There's a bunch of people I'd put at running. Maniac's great at running back. A Bronco Man's great at running back. There's a lot of good people that could play running back. Trey gets past happy, so I panicked and said Trey because he's here tonight.
I think like this question would almost like deserve like a special segment in a show, like in a graphic or whatever. So, but definitely, I think you hit a lot of those. I think D Money is also a really good safety user. And I'm going to say it, Nate, you are one of the better safety users here because you get the most interceptions I've seen from somebody using their safety. So, I mean, I have to give you props on that and stuff. I think the pick for Roger at quarterback, I think that's gold, man, because I know that I know he struggles a little bit and stuff, but, man, he puts up so many yards passing, and he may throw – 3 interceptions, but he's going to throw 5 touchdowns also, so he's going to put you in a great place to win a game and stuff. And I think one guy we haven't talked about, I would put at wide receiver is Colin, because Colin's going to be he's going to be open because he force feeds those wide receivers.
Yeah, we can't play receivers, so I guess that's why I didn't say receiver.
Yeah, it feels like it's more of a defensive minded question since there's really a lot that you can't control. Because, there's people that can vouch for this because, Ultimate Team and all that stuff. I can play offensive line like nobody's tomorrow, but that's just not something you can use her. So for defensively, I would go Pens, Tim, Luca, and Joker as a D-line. I would have Bird, me, and Wayne play linebacker. I'd have D-Money and Nate playing safeties, and I'd have Hurt and Nipples playing corner.
That's not bad defense. Mr. Bronco Man, or Randy, I should say. Who do you think are some owners that are constantly a piece away or two, always seem to be right there, play tough, but fall short? I almost went through everybody, but I was like, well, I may not leave anybody for my two buddies here. So let me just hit a couple. Kevin with the Broncos, Joker with the Cardinals, Jay Bowles with the Raiders, Luca with the Chiefs, and Rogers with the Texans. Those are just a couple off the top of my head.
Yeah, those are really good ones. I don't know. I think you could look at also, or at least for this Madden, like the Steelers. He's just been kind of on the fringe all this Madden. So he's always seems like he's just like 1 or 2 players away. And then also the Browns. I don't know. He just he's played really good. But I've noticed that he's traded more this Madden, I think, than I've seen in the past. And I think he's trying to get that 1 or 2 players that he needs, and it just hadn't been able to get kind of everything the way he wants it yet. So I think those two could be a couple of teams that you could look at as well.
It's going to be a weird one to say, just when you hear it at first, but Seattle.
Good pick.
They have all the pieces when it comes to the regular season, but whenever it comes to the playoff, there's just something missing.
Good pick. I'd throw Massimo in the Dolphins, Lost in the Pats. Even though this is a past champion like Penguins, I'd throw Big Hurt in there. The last couple of cycles, he too hasn't just quite been there, just a piece or two away. That's a really good question. Last one from Randy, and then we'll go catch the ones up above. Outside of kicker, punter, what position do you think is the easiest to replace in Madden? Hands down, without a doubt, wide receiver.
I'm going to say running back.
Yep, it's a good one.
I'm in the same dimension with you, but it's not the running back. It's the fullback.
Yeah, fullback too. If you even run a fullback, these kids nowadays are like, what's a fullback? I run fullback, but
I'm putting another one in the Hall of Fame. I'm doing
it. Logan, this is an old one that we had to wait, but he says, what are your main position groups that you'll look to upgrade in the offseason? This was a good one, Logan. And I think for me, it's tough because I invested into the offensive line last draft. I think it's going to be, I learned a lot of lessons the current cycle, I should say, that I will take into the next cycle. I just hit the full reset too late. I should have hit it right out of the block. I would say offensive line has to be a focus for me. I'm not protecting the quarterback. Now I'm not running the ball well. Both have led to some disasters. And then I'm also going to look at safety. I feel like I'm getting by with some like okay safeties. I think I need a playmaker safety. What about you guys?
Yeah,
I've got
no, go ahead, Trey.
I've got a whole plethora of rebuilding to do. Um, I left this. You left me a little bit of a wreck that I have to sort through. There's some very overpaid offensive linemen, so I'm gonna have to eat those guys for the remainder of the time of their contracts, but look to build around, find some replacements for some people.
Yeah, I was trying to think like the look to upgrade. Like I think like for me, I just talked about my wide receivers. You know, kind of like overperforming. I probably could get like a young, fast, big receiver possibly, and then also I think tight end could be position of my team to improve, and also my offensive line. I've had a solid offensive line, but I really don't have the anchor guy on my line. They're all like in the 80, 81 range type, and I've drafted a couple guys, but they're kind of like the fringe guys. They're not really building really fast, but that could be something I look at improving hopefully in the draft or. But yeah, I like to also get my team to where when I'm in the draft, I can take the best available player too.
Yeah.
So I just think when you start chasing positions, and I think just like in real life, when you start chasing positions because you need it, that's when you get yourself in trouble because you'll like, well, I've got to have an offensive lineman, so I'm gonna, it's a mental thing too. So you start like, I've got to get the best one at this position, and all of a sudden, like, you reach for one, and it wasn't quite exactly what you thought, and just that type of example. And but I think if you get yourself into taking the best player available, it just kind of keeps your team fresh and just keeps the impact players coming into your squad.
Little Koch, who's your prediction for offensive rookie of the year and defensive rookie of the year? And I realized as I was looking at stats, no starting quarterbacks. I mean, we've had some quarterbacks play, but no starting quarterbacks out of this past year's draft. I'm going to go ahead and take quarterback right off of the pile. The running backs have played pretty decent. Like, I think running numbers in all Madden have dipped down, which I'm kind of okay with. Maybe they could get a little bit better, and depending on what settings we go with next season, we will adjust accordingly. It's hard to ignore these stats that the receivers put up. I hate it. I wish there were a way to sort of tweak it, but if I lower catch, which I probably should, all of you are going to come crying about your drops, and I just don't want to hear that. And I just, when you look at these stats, I hate them. Quentin Copeland, 15 games played, almost 2,000 yards, 21 touchdowns. Just stupid. It's just unrealistic. I hate it. Devin McCooley, Indianapolis, 15 games, 1,200 yards, 11 touchdowns. More realistic. Stephon Bayless, Cleveland, 15 games, 1,149 yards, 10 touchdowns. DeAndre Huff.
Not that touchdown total down from the stat pad here.
DeAndre Huff, 15 games, almost 1,000 yards, 5 touchdowns. So I think it's going to be a receiver. It's probably been Quentin Copeland because, let's just be honest, I love you guys, but you're lazy. You're not going to go look it up. You're not going to take in consideration that he force-fed this stupid receiver, and you're just going to go, 21 touchdowns, 2,000 yards. Yep, that gets my vote. So I think he's going to win it over in the AFC. For the offensive, it's the defensive that's going to be the tougher one. You've got a couple of guys out there in tackle leaders for Arizona, for Cleveland. Detroit had a really good draft. Your interception leaders, you've got a guy like Will Milner for Tennessee who stepped right in for a Hall of Famer. He's got 8 already. Britton Staley already has 6. Matt Hardy, he stopped wrestling. He now plays strong safety for the Broncos. He's got 5. Joshua, I almost said Boner, but I think it's Bonner for Tampa Bay. He's got 5. Nick Sims, he's got 5. And then your sack leaders, Dante Worthy's got 8.5. Roy Jones, he stopped boxing. He now plays for Chicago. He's got 7.5. Carl Berry, he's got 6.5. So it's going to be depending on what the league thinks is more impressive, the tackles, the interceptions, the sacks, I tend to sort of lean towards it's going to be the sacks. Those are the sexy numbers. And I think Deontay Worthy, he might sweep AFC or he might sweep offensive and defensive rookie of the year awards this year.
I kind of like the running back for the Titans, Marbury. I think he's got some pretty nice stats. 999 yards rushing so far on the season, 14 touchdowns. He has fumbled though 5 times, so that may keep him from getting that. And defensive wise, like you said, that's a tough one. I mean, I personally, I kind of view, because I feel like sometimes some guys can get sacks pretty easily with guys usering and stuff. I'm not that great at using the DN or the defensive line, but some of these guys are really good at it. But I think you look at like guys like Staley of the Jets with the interceptions. Anytime you have like a rookie that's really shutting down and making big time plays like that, I think that kind of attracts me for as the interception wise, and also just the simple fact that if they can kind of shut down this side of the field and take care of business in the tackle department as well, I like to see that. But like you said, sacks are pretty sexy too. So
yeah, I think the offense one, it's likely everybody's going to vote for Copeland. I mean, he's going to have 2K pass receiving yards. He's probably, by the time we're done, going to have like 27 touchdowns. People aren't going to focus on the fact that he's catching about every three passes before somebody else catches the football. But defensively, everybody's talking about Worthy. A guy that I think, because this is just my personal bias, that would have been had he been starting the entire season, just given how I've been able to play with him, is Jason Anthony. Everybody's talking about Worthy. Yeah, my guy has half the games played, half the sets. We have the same pattern, so that just eliminates Worthy. So I'd probably lean towards the guys that are leading in tackles and interceptions in this race. I don't really have them offhand, but yeah, it would be somewhere in that ballpark.
Hurt said something similar in the chat about he had a guy that was out 5 weeks. And I'll tell you what I told Hurt in chat. It doesn't matter. No one's going to go look it up. My defensive end, the number 1 pick in the draft, got hurt that year for 5 or 6 games, still finished second in sacks. No one cared. He got no votes, literally no votes. No one even looked at it. It's just the way guys are lazy. They're not going to go look it up. They're not staying that in tune. They're just going to look at the stats that get posted on the sheet and pick the best one and move on with their lives. This is a good question from Big Hurt. Yep, Big Hurt. Who's the 1 or 2 players in the OMFL currently that have been drafted this Madden that you think have the best chance of being in the OMFL Hall of Fame? That's a really good question. And I will say, I don't think anyone drafted this Madden will make a Hall of Fame. I think as the Hall of Fame grows, it is harder and harder and harder to not be in multiple cycles and make the Hall of Fame. The board is tightened down, and if they're here for 1 cycle, they got to put up God numbers. And if they don't, they just put up good numbers, then they're going to have to play 2 cycles to make the Hall of Fame. So I think no one that gets nominated this cycle, that got drafted this cycle, will make it unless it's one of these receivers. Like, if Colin keeps force feeding a receiver, Baltimore, and they just put up like God numbers, then maybe. But I will say, before I shut up and pick my 2, I do think this draft class, because of the last 2 cycles, this Hall of Fame class may be the biggest Hall of Fame class we've ever had. There are like 8 cornerbacks that if they don't go to next cycle are automatic potential Hall of Famers. There are 2 or 3 quarterbacks that if they don't go to next cycle, Hall of Famers. There are maybe 1 or 2 running backs. Maniac, I don't know what you're doing, but stop doing it. There are several receivers. Like there's 15 or 20 players that are potential Hall of Famers that have been here multiple cycles now that if they get nominated could make it. My pick out of who do I think will make it that was drafted this cycle, I think Del Durham was drafted this cycle for Chicago, a middle linebacker. I think all the receivers, Chicago, Ravens, their receivers can make it. I don't know, is Matthew Stark a rookie or a drafted player for Green Bay running back? I don't know.
He always tends. I think he. I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah,
It
it
seems like he
would have
always
been last season's
renames
hurt.
them.
I don't think any quarterbacks from this cycle may make it. Maybe I doubt it. It feels like this cycle so far will be very defensive heavy. So interceptions and sack type players, and then receiver way heavy because I don't know. It's just stupid this cycle. And then a couple running backs like could be potential Hall of Famers. Any names sticking out to you guys?
I'm looking at the stats right now and trying to skim through. I'm not sure if Barnes was the linebacker for the Panthers. I'm not sure if he was drafted this Madden or
I
last
think he's an
Madden.
import. Yeah, he's an import.
Okay.
But another name.
Think
That's why I think it's going to be the biggest Hall of Fame. Like so many names you're going to talk and go, oh yeah, they were last cycle.
Yeah. And so I'm trying to look. I know there's probably a couple guys I think you can look at. I think the Dolphins, he's drafted a guy, the middle linebacker Noel. He always seems like he's making like over 100 tackles and getting interceptions. I think there's
Tim's
also
got some good players.
Yeah. And then there's a couple guys, I think obviously Wayne, he drafts like good cornerbacks and safeties and stuff like that. So a couple of those guys may have a chance at making it as well. I'm going to give a little plug for my guy Shepard. He's actually been through 3 cycles, so he'll be nominated this season. I can't take him to another one because he's going to be like
the Vikings
like
have one.
32. Yeah, Dylan's another one.
Yeah,
The
there's
Vikings.
so many cornerbacks. Like everybody's played for San Francisco, Chance McMullen. Like these are guys that were imports this cycle or that have been here for multiple cycles. That, like, again, I keep hounding on it, but it's going to be a massive potential Hall of Fame class if guys do the work and nominate them.
I'm just happy to say that I might potentially have one last Detroit Lion Hall of Fame on the way.
Yeah, you left a handful that even potentially could have been nominated and made it. So,
and Tim didn't take the time to ask me for the stats, which I had all recorded.
Also most of the stats were on video. So it is what it is. It's going to be a big draft class. I'm going to be interested in 2 Hall of Fame classes from now, like this cycle's rookies. I think that might be a smaller, like what the question was based on, this cycle's rookies. I think it might be a small draft class. I think it's going to be, I haven't seen the massive impact cornerback. It's been a couple, but nothing like eye-turning. You've seen some really good running backs, but again, our running numbers are lower than normal. Some amazing wide receivers and a handful of rush defensive ends, but no quarterbacks, right? So like nothing that's blowing you away outside of receiver. And we already talked, I feel like those numbers are inflated for whatever reason.
I will say this for the cornerback situation, particularly, it's because I think this Madden, what they've done differently from previous Maddens is in the weekly roles that you could get for attributes, they've taken away the speed role that you could get. And so like the previous couple Maddens, you had a cornerback that was like a 91 speed, 92 acceleration drafted. And then all of a sudden by the end of that cycle, he was like 97 speed, 98 acceleration. So they've taken that away. And I think you're seeing some of these guys not be as dominant as like what the imports are now.
Yes. And no, one could argue maybe that we did open up the coaching trees all the way, which do give you up to 2 speed.
Right.
Well, let's put some final thoughts on this bad boy. Mr. Tim, and Tim. Oh my God. I was staring at Tim's name and sorry,
Mr. T.
Trey.
Just call him Mr. T.
No, I'm staring at Tim's
Okay,
name
Mr.
and it will always be Trey with the lion. So I see the blue on the photo. I just read what I seen, and no, I'm talking to Trey, not Tim. Trey, give me a final thought.
I'm looking forward to the toilet bowl and watch the rest of the playoffs go out and hopefully put in a competitive team on the field.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how the rest of the season shakes out, and still vying for that playoff spot. We'll see if I can keep the Chiefs at bay. If not, then I'll be I'll be flushing the bowl and the toilet bowl too. So.
I don't know if I'll play the toilet bowl just because my real life Saints, the roster I'd have to play with are absolutely putrid, and I don't know if it's like why would I do that? Like I always end up running up against somebody that's playing with like a playoff team. It's like, okay, it's not fun. I'll think about it though. My final thought is, boy, I really didn't want to address this. I'm not going to make a big deal out of. We're a far long way. It is February, so we're months before I ever have to even think about Madden 26. But that has gained some traction in the chat. I will say I am 45, and I love doing this. This is the part that I hate about me. I hate that I love doing this because I wish I didn't, because I suck, and I've sucked for several Madden cycles. And I'm okay with, I'm not okay with sucking, but like I've learned how to handle that better because I do enjoy the rebuild and trying to figure it out. And yeah, I get frustrated like I did with the Falcons a couple weeks ago and with the Ravens this past week, where it ain't fun to watch me be a titty baby like I'm 4 on stream. And I try to make those not happen that often. Overall, I think I've been pretty good this cycle. I got to be honest. If you haven't heard this, I will tell you what I've always heard, and that is that in leadership, 20% of the people make you wish you quit, and do make you quit. Make 20, most leaders quit over 20% of the people that they're either leading or that are in their lives. It's usually a handful of people, and that's always the thing in the OMFL. There's always a handful of people that make this really, 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 really not enjoyable. Some of those people poke at me and constantly find ways to poke at me. And I think I'm better. I'm more mature and I don't react as much, but I'm still human. And you can only poke at me so much before I finally do react. And then I just feel stupid. And then I'm like, why am I doing any of this? Like, I could use the 17 to 30 hours of my life per week back doing something else that isn't this. So like, why am I doing this? So that's the honest truth, is that this whole season has been tough for me competitively. I just haven't competed in most games, and all my fault because I just haven't built a good team for whatever reason. I've just missed in a lot of areas. I'm also just not great at Madden. I'm average, very average. But I've let a handful of owners in the OMFL really get to me. This whole thing about Madden versus All Pro and like that whole blowout, that has really taken the air out of my sails. And then, the honest truth is there's a couple of you out there that like, I see you in the chats. I see you in my DMs. I see you during my games. I see you poking at me and poking at me and poking at me. And I'm just like, man, I'm too old for this. Like, my circle's real small in life, and I've given my life to my purpose. And that is like both spiritually and the things I do there. I put myself out here the last over 10 years streaming and putting my face out there and my stupid voice that I hate, and creating content and spending thousands of dollars building a studio and mics and learning how to do all this stuff. Like, I've done it because I want the people in the OMFL go like, this guy, makes content for us to take in and enjoy as a hobby, so I can unplug from the world. And like, he takes it serious and he puts forth really like, I hope, good quality content that people enjoy. And if I'm funny, people take me serious. And if I'm serious, people take me too serious. And if I say something that's honest, people are like, why are you talking about me? And my friends watched your stream and they told me what you said. It's just like, bro, do I want to do this at 46 and 47? And the answer, guys, is probably yes. I probably will want to do it. But man, this season is like, I'm just being really open and honest right now of like, it's made me like wonder why. And I do. Maniac is a brother. I've done things that made him hate me a lot of times over the 10 years that we've known each other. Dwayne's a brother. I know I've done things that has made him hate me over the 15 years he's known me. Bill, like there's almost every name in this league are people that like, these would be friends. These would be people I'd take to dinner. These would be people, if you came to my city, I'd go show you all the highlights. I'd show you around a place that I love. But man, some days the 20% in my life that poke at me make me go, I'll just not have those people in my life anymore and just, I don't know, pick up reading for a hobby. I don't know what I'd do, but the honest truth is we'll probably be back. I just need time to think about it. It's just, we will probably go back to All Pro. I'm pissed off about having to go back to All Pro. I'm being honest about it. I'm being honest that a vocal few threw such a fit and we're such anuses about it. We're going to go back just because it's less headache, not because it plays better, not because it's more enjoyable, not because it's not more competitive, which I think proof is in the pudding. Go look at what I helped create over the entire season anyway. And there's a couple, there's like two, I don't know what's going on at Maniac's house, but somebody is got to call the cops or something. I don't know. Something's happening. I'm just joking. The handful of you that have poked at me this season, it's just like, bro, really? Just like, come on. I can't tell, like, I've been playing games this season. Until recently, I was a 1-win team. I'm ranting now. This is the part of me I hate. Like, why do I go right? But anyway, 1-win team. And people are asking me in the middle of a tight game. I'm trying to figure out how to win. They're asking me like league questions and want me to answer during chat. Like, what are we doing here? Like, what are y'all doing? Guys, critiquing my gameplay while I'm playing. It's just like DMs of like, I heard you say this and now I'm blah, blah. And I'm just like, I don't. I take this piece of wood and just bash my whole own head in. Anyway, I end up chilling out during a break. That's why I said 5 seasons, absolutely. The 6th season in the air. It's such a hassle to get the 6th one in. People get frustrated. People want to go on vacation. Like, it's just that last one's just, it is tough to get through. So I just don't know if we're going to do that or just give everybody a break. And that's all I need. I just need a break because, man, I've just let it get to me this season. This is the last year and a half, personally, have been the hardest year and a half in a long time. The last 10 years of moving here have been really hard for me and my family. The last year and a half, just physically and emotionally and spiritually, been really hard. And then I go through a 3-win season and get poked at by adults who are supposed to be my friends. It's just like, what are we doing here? Anyway, that was a long final thought. I didn't want to address it. I probably shouldn't have, but that's where I suck as a leader. I'm going to bed, no. Bronco Man. I know that you posted in DM. I will answer you, but I got to play. Oh, I'm playing Kevin tomorrow. So I got to read your schedule. We might have to aim for Wednesday. But that might be the soonest because I'm not doing it tonight. So Maniac, thank you. Trey, thanks for being Johnny on the spot. Pray for my guy, Dwayne. He's sick. He's got the flu. It's going around. Everybody seems to be getting it. And hope Maniac keeps feeling better. And guys, take care of yourselves. Take care of those around you. Be nice. That's it. Just be nice to humans. I love you. We'll see you in the next one, all right? Peace.
Deuces.
Laters.
Yeah.
Smash that like and subscribe.